Hi there, I'm Caleb Belcher, and today we're going to make this luxurious coffee table out of concrete. For the design of this table, we decided to go with metal hairpin legs made out of 3/8" round stock. From there, we made a mold for the concrete table out of melamine. This is done to give a fairly smooth initial surface, and I personally only use hot glue to put together my pieces of melamine, which hasn't failed me structurally and is much easier to clean and then reuse pieces for future projects. The rest of my process is very similar to the technique that the Modustrial Maker has made, and I will include a link below to some of his videos, and I personally have had excellent results with it on my concrete tables. From there, we cut out a piece of plywood to embed in the concrete, and that would give us a spot to mount our table legs to, so then they would be removable in the future. I included a layer of polyacrylic on this so that the moisture in the concrete wouldn't negatively affect the wood. With the mold and the plywood ready, we started placing our concrete into the mold, and I had calculated that it was going to take about 2 bags of concrete with the space of the plywood included in that. Almost as soon as we started pouring, we realized that we had made a mistake. One of the bags of concrete was on my shop floor and got wet and was completely hard. So I had to quickly sprint to Home Depot, get a new bag, but by the time I got back, the bottom layer was already starting to get hard, and I could not put the plywood in it, which really kind of put a damper on the original plan.
You're gonna keep this sound in, right?
After demolding the concrete, we went on to wet polishing with my Makita grinder. It basically has a series of discs, and we started at 800 and worked our way up to 6,000 to get a really nice finish on the table. The nice thing about the grinder is it has a hookup for water. Sadly, my house doesn't have a working faucet outside at the moment. We then moved to grinding and hand sanding the legs so that they would be ready to paint. We painted on 3 coats of satin black, so it has a little bit of sheen, but in my opinion, not too much. The wet sanding on the concrete surface actually opens up really small holes. So I like to take a mix from my original concrete, get just the cement, and make kind of a slurry to fill all of those small holes so that then I can resand again and get a really, really fine finish. It's fairly easy to then take that slurry and fill any of those pinholes that were opened up. And I like to fill them and then just kind of wipe away any extra so that I don't have too much sanding to do in the final process. After a day of curing, the slurry was ready to be wet sanded, and again we worked our way up from 1,000 grit through 3,000 grit. With our previous mistake of not being able to embed a piece of plywood into the concrete, we had to construction adhesive a new piece of plywood on the bottom of the table so that we had somewhere to mount the legs to. Since I didn't have any clamps to hold the new piece of plywood down, we opted for a couple 5-gallon drums of paint and the remaining concrete to hold the new piece of plywood. Once the construction adhesive was dry, we could mount the 4 table legs to the new piece of plywood and hope and pray that it would support itself and that the construction adhesive wouldn't fail, because this was a heavy table. Kaden was pretty excited to be done working on the table and with the final results. And with that, we were done with the concrete coffee table. I'm super happy with how it turned out, and here are some shots of it in its final home. If you liked this video, I'd love if you commented, liked, and subscribed. Thanks!